Early voting has begun in many states for this November's elections, including in Ohio, where the abortion industry is literally pouring in tons of money to push for Issue 1, which would change the state's constitution to allow abortion on demand up until birth. But given the national interest in this particular ballot initiative, folks, we need everyone in Ohio to vote no on Issue 1 and to encourage your family, your friends, your church family, encourage everyone to vote no. But the ballot initiative in Ohio is just one of many votes that are taking place this fall. And here to discuss this and many other races is Brent Keilen. He's Vice President for Strategic Initiatives at the Family Research Council and FRC Action. Brent, thanks for joining us today. Great to see you.
Good to see you too, Jody. Appreciate it.
All right, well, let's begin by talking about Issue 1 in Ohio. This is huge, and the abortion industry is funneling tons of cash into this ballot initiative.
It really is very important. Last numbers I've seen are tens of millions of dollars being spent on the pro-abortion side. And Jody, really what we're seeing here is Ohio is kind of the current and latest front in the left's new strategy. Post Dobbs and Roe getting overturned last year, they started this strategy where they're going to states, trying to go around state legislatures and get these constitutional amendments passed, enshrining these types of radical protections in these state constitutions. And they're particularly interested in states like Michigan, we saw last year, Ohio this year, where the threshold to amend a state constitution is not all that high. So this is very important. Like you said, Issue 1 in Ohio, if passed, would enshrine these radical abortion protections into the Constitution. Not only that, it would significantly undermine parental rights, which is very, very concerning. If you look at how this amendment is worded, lots of bad stuff will happen if this gets passed. So we're urging people in Ohio to get out and vote, get your friends and neighbors out to vote no on Issue 1. And also there's Issue 2, also on the ballot in November, which would legalize recreational marijuana. A lot of concerns there, so we're encouraging people to also vote no on Issue 2 in Ohio.
Well, some major issues taking place there. Yeah, and it seems to me, as you alluded to, Brent, that this could potentially set up a domino effect as in terms of what happens in Ohio and Michigan. I mean, you've brought this up. This could set out a strategy to go for multiple states across the union, do you think?
You're exactly right, Jody. We actually have already seen the left say this is their plan for 2024. They did some stuff last year. They have the chance for states like Ohio this year, but they've outlined, I've seen anywhere from 10 to 12 states next year where they want to do this same exact thing. So if you're not in Ohio, we need to take note of this, because this could very quickly be coming to a state near you, and just very, very important nationally.
Absolutely. Well, listen, friends, you've heard it. If you are in Ohio or you know someone who is, please help us urge them to vote no on this Issue 1. Voter turnout is huge, what I'm seeing today and looking at some articles, so this is a critical time. All right, Brent, what's happening in Ohio is not the only important race or state election taking place. We have things happening in Virginia, New Jersey, a host of other places. Kind of give us the lay of the land, what's happening across the country.
You're right. There's a lot of races we're watching. Most of them have their elections November 7th. The one exception is Louisiana, which has its runoff a little bit later in November. But states that have really important statewide races and some state legislative races and ballot initiatives are Louisiana, Kentucky, and also Mississippi. Louisiana surprised a lot of people where Jeff Landry got so much support in the primary. He avoided avoided the need for a runoff, but there's still a lot of important races there mid-November. And then Kentucky is interesting because it's a lot like Louisiana in the sense that it's a conservative state, but it has a Democrat governor. So we have Daniel Cameron there, who is trying to become the next Republican governor, pick up the governor's mansion there. So that's also an important race we're watching. And then in Mississippi, we have Tate Reeves, incumbent Republican governor. Mississippi is a deep red state, but it's also a state where he's running against a very well-funded opponent, and an opponent who's running as a conservative there. So that's definitely one we should keep our eyes on. And then if you look at the state legislative races, we have Virginia. Virginia is important because the Republicans have the governor's mansion and the state house there. If they could keep the state house and then pick up the state senate, they could actually pass some very meaningful conservative legislation there in Virginia. But it looks like it's going to be close there. So also another important race there as well.
Yeah, and Virginia is one of those states, isn't it, that the entire General Assembly is on the ballot. I mean, it's not like a third and a third, a third, or whatever, like we see in other places, but the entire General Assembly is on the ballot. Isn't that correct?
That's right. That's right. I believe that's right. So we have the two lower chambers there, and both margins. So that the Republican margin of majority in the House and the Democrat margin of majority in the state Senate are both very, very slim. So again, we saw what Virginia did just 2 years ago in electing Glenn Youngkin and Winsome Sears. If those margins would carry over to this year, we'd be looking at a very different Virginia because of the conservative trifecta there.
Well, I know a lot of people are very concerned. They want to stay informed. Real quickly, tell us where people can find some resources to help them as they're looking into some of these races.
Absolutely. Jody, two things real quick. You can go to our website, frcaction.org, and access iVoter Guide. It covers all of these races that I've mentioned, some really, really good info there. You can also get it texted to you. Just text GUIDE to 67742. Get it straight to your mobile phone there. And then secondly, make a plan to vote. There are so many people that intend to vote, but then life happens on Election Day and they never quite get to it. So make sure you know how you're going to get to the polls, when you're going to get to the polls on Election Day, so that you're able to make sure your voice is heard there.